Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, passion for excellence.
Here are today's headlines. Ford and the UAW have a tentative agreement. Guess who's coming to Detroit? And Russian carmaker AvtoVAZ could go under. Up next, we'll be back with the news behind the headlines. This is Autoline Daily for Monday, October 12, 2009, Columbus Day. I'm Rod Maloney, business editor at WDIV Channel 4 in Detroit, filling in for John McElroy. And now, the news. As I first reported on Local 4 News in Detroit last Thursday, the United Auto Workers National Council, consisting of the Ford UAW local presidents, will be in town tomorrow. They're going to hear the details of a tentative agreement between Ford and the UAW on a concessionary contract that would give Ford the same basic union agreements General Motors and Chrysler received in their bankruptcies. They were able to make this deal last week. The question today is whether the presidents and their membership are on board. In the deal, Ford gets a no-strike guarantee until 2015 and will take skilled trade workers, plant maintenance staffers, and return them to the assembly line at their present higher wage rate. Also, there will be a change in the wage rates for the new workers coming into the company. In return, UAW workers get a $1,000 signing bonus and a guarantee from Ford that it's going to put products in all of its U.S. plants and agrees not to shutter any of those plants. Washington is heading to Detroit to check on its investments, sort of. U.S. Transportation Secretary Ray LaHood is in Detroit this week to meet with all three American automakers. The Detroit News reports his focus is on research, safety, and the target everyone continues to aim at, increased fuel efficiency. Today he starts with Ford's Research and Innovation Center, and then it's off to a tour of Chrysler headquarters. Meantime, tomorrow he's going to visit GM's Milford Proving Grounds before he wraps up his first trip to Detroit with a speech at the local economic club. Wall Street Journal reports that Russian carmaker AvtoVAZ is pushing for more government aid. The company, which is 25% owned by Renault, says there's significant doubt about its continued existence. Over the last year, car sales in Russia have been cut in half, and the company's lost about $660 million in the first 6 months of 2009. AvtoVAZ is asking Moscow for an additional 12 billion rubles in aid. It's about $407 million beyond the 25 billion ruble interest-free loan it received last spring. When MAGNA acquired Opel, some automakers it does business with objected to the deal because they were afraid that MAGNA would share its plans with Opel. But according to Ward's, Mercedes doesn't seem to be that worried about it. MAGNA is going to develop and build aluminum bodies for the upcoming Mercedes SLS AMG. Parts are going to be manufactured at MAGNA's plant in Austria. Automakers aren't the only ones looking to improve fuel economy. According to Reuters, a group that represents the top airline companies in the world say that they're going to go beyond the regulations required of them to cut emissions and improve fuel economy. Group pledged to improve fuel economy by 1.5% every year until 2020, and they also set a goal of carbon neutral growth by 2020. Coming up next, a few of my thoughts on the state of the domestic auto industry. We'll be right back after this.
Changing tires out here could be dangerous, but with these tires, I don't need to worry.
Bridgestone.
Here's a quick note to General Motors management. It recently held a conference call for a 90-day report card after emerging from bankruptcy. And if you weren't listening very closely, you would have missed how GM CEO Fritz Henderson slid into his remarks the fact that the company is still too fat by about 10,000 blue-collar workers and a few hundred more executives. That will logically mean more pain and trouble for Metro Detroit's economy, more plant closings, and a continued slide through the darkest economy in a couple of generations. This is no small detail, and the company needs to address this more directly in the future. Meantime, mark this day, Monday, October 12, 2009, as the official beginning of the auto industry's new era. It's put up or shut up time. This week, it's likely Ford's going to get its version of the modified national UAW contract, getting its no-strike guarantee, just as GM and Chrysler did in their bankruptcies. And for months, we've asked Ford executives, how are they going to compete with government motors with greatly slashed debt loads and assurances of no strikes? And they wouldn't answer, mainly because, to tell you the truth, they couldn't. So now we know they can. The practical effect of this comes today, the official beginning of the era of no excuses. For more decades, we've listened to domestic automaker executives tell us that they could succeed simply if they weren't weighed down by, and then fill in the blank, legacy costs, union contracts, unfavorably rigged foreign exchange rates, and government regulations. Well, no more. Ford, GM, and Chrysler must forever put this inglorious past in the rearview mirror for executives to get down to the real business of moving metal and leaving the excuses by the roadside. What that means to you and me is the immediate future is going to be a very interesting and telling time. All decks are cleared for those car companies to soar, to truly compete with the foreign transplants, make boatloads of money, and now it's up to them to do what made this town so great in the past: sell great, well-designed cars that people want to buy. It's really that simple. Whenever company or companies get this right, wins. We as a region and a nation can only hope they all do. And that's it for today's top news in the global automotive industry. Again, I'm Rod Maloney, business editor at WDIV Channel 4 News in Detroit. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.